This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Track Farms and their excellent CBD products. It's been a weird day around the RV today. It's super windy, which drives me crazy. If you don't know about living in an RV, you just kind of rock back and forth all day. It just gives you that little bit of stress, and it makes me think that for most days we're all kind of walking around with just something that's irking us, just bothering us, that's just creating a tiny bit of stress. And for me, I think CBD is a great way to relieve yourself of that, whether that's because it helps with anxiety legitimately, or just because the act of doing something and saying, this is the thing, I'm going to calm down, I'm going to do this thing, that's become a big thing for me today. So you can kind of even hear the wind in this recording. Hopefully I can edit it out, but it is just so windy. I had a little CBD and all of a sudden I'm feeling better about it. I don't feel that this is on my mind and bothering me. I feel a lot less stressed. So get rid of that stress. Try out some CBD. I have found for me it has worked really some miracles, particularly Track Farms. So go to track-farms.com/strangers, enter the code strangers at checkout. You will get 15% off your order. Give these guys a try. They make some awesome CBD. All right. Well, cheers,
It's a
sir.
double IPA.
Cheers.
Trillium Brewing Company in Boston, Mass.
Okay.
They're awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's TGIF moment today.
Yeah, it's my favorite kind.
Well, I've got Booker on the show today. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I just figured we'd start off just drinking beers because that is sort of the thing.
Yeah.
Is your last name Leslie?
No, my name is Leslie.
Oh, your name's Leslie.
I'm Leslie Strokerch is
I have
my
to
name.
do it again.
I'm sorry.
Do you
I
go by Booker?
I go by
Oh,
Booker.
nice.
I go
Okay.
Booker on
Well, I
everything.
didn't get it
So
wrong.
Booker's good. Booker was my grandfather's middle name, and I always thought it was really cool. He was Johnny Booker, and he's one of my favorite video games characters' name was Booker.
Okay.
And so I adopted that, and then I'm a junior. My dad was Leslie, so I added that as when I was trying to figure out what I want my online thing to be.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be my name. I never liked my name. I never liked
Sure.
Leslie as
Sure.
a kid. I like it now because I'm old, but so Booker Leslie was kind of where I said at. The funny thing is, there's a motivational speaker. Her name is Leslie Booker.
Okay.
So she's taken some
relation.
of the Booker Leslie stuff out there. So I couldn't really do a website or anything because I think she's bought up all those things.
Oh,
But,
yeah. Well, the SEO gets hurt sometimes,
Yep.
and that's all right.
Yep.
So what is this? This is
Yeah,
from
Trillium
Boston,
Brewing
Trillium.
Company, double IPA scaled up. They do awesome labels, they do a pencil label. I know you can't see that on the podcast, but
take a picture of it.
it's a New England IPA. So I love the mimosa-looking beers, really hazy,
Yeah.
all about citrus and tropical flavors are my favorite kind. And people give me a hard time because that's what I drink most of the time to try
Yeah.
other stuff. And so I try things, but I can't get away from these things.
Right.
So.
So this is a big passion of yours.
Yeah, it
craft
is.
beer.
Yeah.
And so just to give everybody their background here, you make a vlog about beer and beer
Yep.
reviews.
Yeah.
And you've kind of created content around it. You take great beer selfies, by the way, which
Thank you
we'll
so
get
much.
into. I don't
Thanks
need to get
so
right
much.
into it. I need a little advice. But beer is the name of the game for you. So
Yes.
when did you start doing that?
It's kind of funny. I've always enjoyed beer, but I was always the Bell's Two Hearted, Newcastle Brown Ale. It was I was never really that into it. But as a craft beers, IPAs kind of became more of a thing, and you get it more regularly. A buddy of mine named Justin moved back from California. He's from the area here. And he just introduced me a whole new world of the craft beer thing, of getting beer in the mail, buying beer, having people mule beer. And as that just kind of became a thing for me. And it kind of went along. It was about the same time that I had been debating about creating a YouTube channel. I'd always wanted one. I kind of fell in love with Casey Neistat and loved what he's doing from vlogging. But I'm at that time, I'm 41-year-old dad. What am I going to do on YouTube? Who's going to want to watch anything? So I think I debated, I had created a blog for 8 months, and I was I'm just going to do it. I bought a camera, bought more expensive camera I needed to buy just because I thought it would force me to do it.
Classic. Yep.
And so I did it, and I made my first vlog. And my first vlog, I was in Seattle, and I went to Seattle. I had the camera. I never pointed it at myself. I never talked to it. That was my biggest fear, was talking to the camera and people seeing me do that. I could sit
That's what it
here.
really is, isn't it?
Yeah, people seeing me do it, because I'm what are they thinking?
Yeah.
But that's the narcissist, I think, in all of us, that we think that they are worried about what we are. And over time, I got over that. But so I started with that, and I always called it my worst vlog. It's still there. And then I started just kind of making weekly vlogs. I was just doing this thing, and it was whatever was going on in my day. Like at first, it worked really well because I started in the fall, and I had Notre Dame, and I'd go to Notre Dame tailgates, and that would become part of the vlog as well, or whatever it may be. And then for somewhere, I went to a couple breweries like in that December that same year, and I was like, maybe this is like what I should do. Like I'm really passionate about going to breweries and checking this stuff out and recording and you get a couple beers in you, it's a lot easier to put a camera on you
That's
and talk
true.
to the
That's a
camera
good point.
when people are looking at you.
I think the best podcast episodes for me happen when I'm having a beer with the guest or a cigar or something. Just
Yeah.
because, well, that's what it's there for, is social lubricant in a way. I mean, that's the point.
Exactly.
And it's something to do other than just like stare at someone. It's
Yeah.
just intense. So
Yeah.
it's an important part of it. Okay, so you get it going, and now have you settled into like a rhythm with how you do these?
Yeah, the COVID has been bad to me because I think with stuff going on with work and things of that nature, I've not recorded as much as I would like. I think I've had 2 videos out in the last 8 weeks, and I focus a lot on my Instagram. I do my Instagram more than anything. So around that time, like I decided I'm going to go this route. I'm going to do this. I did a couple other things outside of that, but the brewery thing, the beer thing seemed to really work well. And I love the industry so much. Like everybody's in. I focus on independent places. I like those folks a lot. I like to support them as much as they can. And at the same time, I end up Instagram at the time was more personal. A lot of different photos on there. I deleted every photo I had on Instagram and went to just like beer photos and kind of got myself in a rhythm. And I used to worry about the algorithm, and then I decided to stop worrying about the algorithm and let myself be my own algorithm and kind of put stuff out as I like it. So I just focus on that, getting better at that, taking photos. And I used to do it with my camera. Now I use it mainly with my phone camera and have fun with it. But yeah, I think I took a hobby. Beer is a hobby. I mean, it's a weird thing to say about alcohol, but beer is a hobby for me, and it's about getting the stuff that I can't get that's local necessarily. I like to support local as much as I can, and that's always been a big theme of my YouTube and my Instagram. Typically, is like supporting local as much as I can. But I think I'm supporting local as well when I'm helping out an independent brewer and like putting their stuff on showcase to a degree. So
right, exactly.
I just have fun with it, and I've been fortunate to be in 2 really big communities. I was in the Destiny video game community, and I made a lot of friends there. Online gaming with them, and I've met a lot of them in person. And the same things happen in the beer community as well. Like it's such a really close knit community. Everyone supports each other, and I've met so many people that I only knew from Instagram in person, and I've not had a bad experience yet. So it's pretty cool,
including me too.
Yeah,
even
so
though
far
I'm not in that community.
Far, yeah.
But now
you are.
Yeah, and we were supposed to do this a couple weeks ago. I've been in. I'm still in Indiana for anybody who's wondering. I'm trying to decide if I still want to open the show like I used to with like a whole intro, but I just kind of hate it. I just kind of want to hit the record button and just start talking.
Yeah.
I'm kind of into that a little more now.
I like that.
I'm working on it. But I can't.
I have a thought about that too. But
what's your thought?
Well, with videos, I do the same thing. I used to start videos out with like, hey, welcome YouTube or whatever it may be, and I probably still do some of that. But I try to find a moment in like my recording, just the raw recording, because I don't ever stop. I just record.
Right.
In the edit, I try to find a moment that's kind of funny, and I open up with that for like 20 or 30 seconds.
Yeah, I just saw you. I think it was your most recent video, and you were like trying to drink through your mask. And
yes,
sort of like,
and I staged that a little bit.
Right,
but
of course. But yeah, I think it's just a little more casual. Where was I going with that? Oh, well,
just how you open the video.
Where am I?
Yeah.
We're still in Indiana. We're still in Elkhart. And I've been here for a little too long. It's been good because we've been putting together this Wild Hickson's thing, as I'm sure listeners know, and that's been a lot of fun actually. But we needed kind of an extra week to do a little more work out here, so now we're finally taking off, and we'll be in the next spot. But I think it worked out well because you and I were supposed to do this a long time ago.
Yes.
But you got the old COVID.
I did. I got the COVID.
Are you clear now, by the way?
I'm this is the first time
sharing
I've said it publicly as well. I've not shared it publicly on Instagram or anything like that. No, you're fine. It's totally good. I think I've debated how I should share it because I think that there's so much weirdness out there about it that I'd like to share it and talk about it and let people know about it. But yeah, I mean, I feel really good. I think the first 3 or 4 days I was like kind of not in great shape, but it was like having a flu.
Yeah.
Basically, and once you got through it, you're pretty good.
Like what kind of flu? Like
mine was.
I feel like everybody's symptoms are totally different with this thing. It's really hard to track.
I think that's the thing about it that is weird is your symptoms were almost different on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Okay.
Mine started out. Mine was really weird. I had coffee with a buddy at the Elkhart Brew at like 8:00 in the morning on a Wednesday, and I had to meet with an accountant later in the day around 11, and I was like driving home. It was about 2:00, and I was like, man, like. I had like my throat started hurting, and I had these
Uh,
body aches come on, and they just came on really strong.
mm-hmm.
And I said, I want to take a COVID test because I have the opportunity to do that. I get one every week, and I took one, sent it in, and got the results on Friday. That Wednesday, I was like out until like 10 o'clock at night. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just couldn't do anything, was shut down, and the body aches and sore throat were probably the most common. And then I dealt a little bit with the shortness of breath and things of that nature as
Mm-hmm.
well. That was probably the one that lingered the most, was the shortness of breath thing.
Yeah. What does
Um,
that mean, shortness of breath? Because I always
it's
feel
hard,
like
trouble breathing, like even just walking up and down the stairs,
feel
like
like
you
you're
were out
working
of
much
breath,
harder.
like you did
like
too
you're in
much.
Colorado overnight or something
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's a scary one, man.
It is.
And I've got this podcast where I meet people. It's all about meeting people.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it as responsibly as I can do it. So, and the nice thing about a podcast is that for the most part, I'm sitting fairly far away from someone.
Yeah.
You and I are a little closer, but I actually trust this situation a little bit
Okay.
more because I know you've already
Yeah,
had it. So,
exactly.
like, it's a little safer in my eyes. But you just do the best you can. I don't know.
Right.
And that's the crazy thing. I haven't gotten a test yet. I don't have access to one.
Okay.
So, well, I could go out and get one if I wanted to, but I haven't had any symptoms. I
Yeah.
have no reason
Absolutely. Absolutely.
to. But the crazy thing is knowing that you could have already had it and just passed, and it's different for everybody.
Yeah, I think a lot of us thought those things. I not to get into it, but like I remember like last fall, like I knew a lot of people and my children as well, who for like 2 weeks had like a really bad like flu slash like cold, and we're like, as we look back, we're like, I wonder if like that was like early onset of that, because the symptoms, like you call your doctor and you're like, hey, I tested positive for this, like what do I do? And they're like, rest,
Right.
drink a lot of
For
fluids,
most people, it's
and if you feel bad enough, go to the ER.
right.
That was it.
That's the craziest stat that I've seen lately, and I'm so torn on the whole thing. The thing is, I don't really want to have an opinion about it. I'll just
Yeah.
let the other people have an opinion
I
about
got
it.
you.
I'll wear my mask. I'll just like kind of follow what we're
Right.
about and
Right.
just be good about it. But from what I hear, I just hear such mixed reports. I feel like it's because the entire thing has become so over politicized that it's like you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
stand on one side of it. It's like
Yeah.
I don't care which side.
It's
Just
like
tell me
everything anymore,
what's
yeah.
actually going on,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And the latest one is about how small of a percentage of people are affected with just one, with just COVID that get serious, that either it's fatal or it
Oh yeah.
gets really serious for, because most people have multiple conditions when they're diagnosed with it. So
Right.
it's like I don't have those pre-existing conditions. I'm generally a healthy person, so
Mm-hmm.
what are we gonna do about this? But
Yeah.
anyway, but now it's political because
It
it's
is.
like
That's the way it is. Like I just read an article before you got here that St. Joe County has extended the mask order to the end of the year, and they're talking about fines for businesses and individuals that they see without masks on.
see, that's a strange
interesting.
one. Like, how is that going to be enforced? Is
I
the
don't know
cop
how you
going
do
to
that.
pull over and be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
man, you're walking on the sidewalk"?
Yeah, I don't know how. I think that's why you've not seen fines.
Yeah.
Because there's not really been a law necessarily. There's
Right.
mandating an order, wanting you to do it, but there's not a law that's ever been put on the books that I can fine you for it. So it'd be interesting to see if they can do that.
I think people should, to be honest, I think people should take a little more. First of all, you should be taking responsibility for yourself. You should wear a mask when you go to the grocery store.
Absolutely.
Like, come on.
Absolutely.
But then I also see people just blitzing in the grocery store, past all the mask required signs, past the employee who's supposed to be there to tell them to put a mask on,
Mhm.
and it just doesn't seem to matter. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, you're standing at the front of the store to not let people in who aren't wearing masks. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's become something where you can't even say to someone like, "Hey, man, could you put your mask on?" Which could
Yeah.
be a really simple request. It's like, "Hey, sorry, can't let you in unless you're wearing a mask."
Right.
But it's got to come from both sides. It's got to come from people
Yeah.
willing to do it, and also people being like, "It's not cool to not."
I look at it, maybe this is a simplistic view, and growing up in the Midwest in small towns, like I remember as a kid in the 80s and 90s, you would always see the signs everywhere, no shirt, no shoes, no service.
Right.
And that was, and in my mind, I'm like, who is this for? Like, and they have that sign, they have warning labels that are there because someone did something.
Right.
And so those signs are there for a reason. So this is our no shirt, no shoes, no service.
Right.
Now you're seeing signs like no mask, no service. You walk
Yeah.
into a place, and so we're just kind of in that weird spot, like
Yeah.
that we were maybe in the 60s or 70s. That was a common thing. I was never a part of my life where I felt like there was a lot of no shirt, no shoes.
I
no
feel
service
like
things,
that's
but
mostly just to keep like homeless people out of stores.
it might be.
To be like, "Hey, man, you can't just like come in here."
Yeah, true.
Like, but which is kind of sad too.
Mhm.
But I don't know. It's the grocery cart test. What do they call that? Have you heard this one?
Uh-uh.
It's all about. It's like this some I guess theory that someone has about how people act, and the idea is when you take your grocery cart out of the store, you have the chance to either return it to the cart
Right.
place where it should
Always
go,
return it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. But the point is, that's a decision you can make.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to massively negatively affect anybody else if you decide
True.
not to. It's not that much effort to do it, and you know that it's the right thing to do it. And it will probably help someone out if you do it, because we see those guys walking around Walmart parking lot collecting all the carts, and they got to go chase yours down. So it's that theory of like, will people willingly do just a good thing that doesn't cost them that much or not? And so probably if you're someone who returns the grocery cart, you're probably wearing your mask. You're just doing a nice thing. You know, it doesn't really matter if it's political or not. It doesn't really matter if it's right or not.
Yeah.
The signs come out tomorrow and be like, we don't need masks. And we'd all be like, cool, that's great.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it for right now because as far as we know right now, that's helpful. But I don't know. To me, it's the same thing.
That's a good way to put it, though, as well. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Like, my biggest thing is working all day, like working a 9-hour shift in one is annoying, but
yeah, that's something
like,
I'm lucky enough not to do.
You're protecting yourself, I guess, so to speak, because other people, to your point, aren't necessarily doing so.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Did your people you were with that day you got sick end up getting it, or
No.
were they okay?
Mm-mm. Yeah, no
That's
one did.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I did not get anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to be like 3 people on average that you get.
Yeah, I didn't get anybody. Like, because you do contract tracing technically for, like, you know, the health department calls you and they talk to you about all the things you did, and nobody that I was in the, because they say 2 days, the Indiana Health Department said 2 days prior to your symptoms is when you were, like, contagious, and nobody that I saw or was around in those 2 days had anything.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It's good to know. We got stuck on COVID here.
I know.
I can move us on.
It's an interesting topic.
It is.
Because it is the topic of the day.
It is. But if you want a podcast with someone talking about COVID, go find every other podcast in the world right now.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Let's you and I talk about beer, man.
Yes, let's do.
So, and I don't even know where to pick up exactly. Did you position that perfectly to catch that leak, or what's going on? Did you see that? Just like a drop fell from this tree above us, and it went right in your cup.
No way.
Perfectly.
That's not good. I don't know what dropped. It could be bird poop.
It might just be a leaf or something. Yeah, that's interesting.
Luckily we haven't gotten hit yet, but there's acorns like falling off the street.
Oh, that might have been what it was, though.
Like nonstop.
Yeah. Well, we're in a nice outdoor location. Your house is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you.
How long have you guys been in this area?
Moved here in May.
Okay.
Yeah, May. We were in northwest side of South Bend until May.
Right.
Yeah.
And then before that, you're a Central Illinois boy.
Central Illinois, yep.
Born and raised, or?
Born and raised. Lived there most of my life. I moved away I lived in Wisconsin and Milwaukee for about 6 or 7 years, and then ended up moving back to Central Illinois.
I love Central Illinois still.
It's great. I don't go back as often as I used to, but I enjoy it. And I enjoy a lot of the things in the beer community happening around there that I feel like I'm missing out on, because a buddy of mine has a craft bar there in a small Lexington, Illinois, that has really boomed over the last couple of years. He was a place in the 2009-10, like that's where I got my craft beer at, that was out at that time. And he gets so much great stuff that I'm like, I wish he was like so much closer.
Yeah.
But now I have a brewery like a mile from my house, so
Right.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Right. It's a little bit of both. You want to go to the place where there are great breweries. At the same time, you want to go to the place where there's not any, because you can like be in on the ground floor of the brand new stuff that happens.
Absolutely. That's true.
I think my hometown of Monticello just got their first brewery happening out there in an old church, from what I heard. I didn't
really?
go. I would have gone except for COVID.
Yeah.
But I'm not really going to bars. Or
My
anything
favorite
like that.
place down there by where you're at is Triptych.
Okay.
It's in Savoy, right outside of Champaign there.
I have
Champaign,
family
Urbana.
right there.
Yeah, it's a great little spot. I did a video there a couple years ago. It's a great little spot. They've grown really fast as well. Like, I love seeing that. I love seeing success of these places. You see so many of them closing down. COVID was not good to breweries at all, so it's been challenging.
Yeah. To me, breweries are a fascinating thing. I think that they're one of the best social places you can go, personally.
Absolutely.
I feel like a lot of them have really gotten into the spirit of something that people wanted, which is just like a casual place to drink, not a bar vibe, not blasting music.
Yeah.
A lot of them have more games and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just like big open outdoor areas. They're getting really good food at so many of these breweries.
Yeah.
Like, you see the ones where it's like, okay, we got a chef who knows how to work with our beer, and they're making things that go right with
That's
it.
so true.
It's a good movement. I'm into it.
I have a rule about breweries with food is I typically don't like the breweries with food.
Well, my apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I just had about the worst thing happen that can happen in podcasting, because I looked down and the recorder's like, card full. And I don't know when it said that, but we went back and looked. I think we're going to be okay now. because we were just talking. I think we were talking about how great breweries are, and then we had this whole tangent about how awesome restaurants and breweries are. But you have your own kind of theories on that.
Yeah, like my theory, there are. I'll back up a second. There are breweries that do a really good job with food, but my belief is that if the brewery doesn't focus on the beer, the food thing doesn't matter to me. Like, otherwise they're just they're just a restaurant, and I go for the brewery more than anything. I don't go for the food necessarily. The food is secondary.
Right.
But yeah.
But I think we both could agree that the places that start as like a great brewery, great beers,
Absolutely.
and then they find someone who can really complement that with great
Right.
food. And I was shouting out one of my favorites, which is Avery
yeah.
Brewing out in Boulder, Colorado, which is just they do that really, really well. That's the place where for me it was like, yeah, they nailed it. Like they've been making these beers for a long time. They got them to a perfect place. They opened up excellent restaurant. It just works.
Yeah, I think most of the places I've gone to they only have the brewery piece, and if they have food, it's a food truck, or they have a bring your own food. You can bring stuff in. So I always appreciate that. The one brewery I know that I go to, I haven't been to this year necessarily, but I go to regularly is in Moore Brewing in Lombard, Illinois. They do a fantastic job with the beer, and then they complement that with some just fantastic food that just like it's out of this world to be in a brewery you get that kind of food, and it's a good environment too. You can take kids in there, like it's just a really clean. It's a good environment. So I appreciate breweries that can figure it out and do it and have that balance. But I believe in like the beer. The beer is what draws me in.
Yeah. Do you think that breweries are going to be able to survive this whole thing?
There's some that are showing that they can't. Like I just read about Surly Brewing in Minnesota. I've not had much of their stuff yesterday, really, but like they just hit distribution in our area before the COVID stuff hit. But they just announced like a big bunch of layoffs. So you see a lot of layoffs happening, throughout the country, and breweries closing down because obviously there's a struggle with that, like not being able to, if you can only have capacity of 50% inside your building. It's hard to meet whatever you're doing before because breweries are booming, and breweries, it's a tough business even when there's no virus or pandemic going on.
The margins are so slim at any type of restaurant or brewery or whatever.
You've got to be able to like have like what you said. You've got to be able to be different than a bar.
Yeah.
And that's what like drew people to breweries. That's why breweries have blown up so much, and there's some everywhere. But I think they'll survive. But I think we've got a lot more saturation of breweries than we've probably had ever. Like you just said, in Monticello, there's one opening up.
Yeah.
Like you see and hear about them opening a lot, and some are opening even still during all this that's going on. So I think that sadly you'll probably see some go by the wayside, but I hope for the best for all of them because I do believe in independent business owners, and I'd love to be I don't want to ever brew beer personally, but I'd love to own a place that I served really great beer and supported those folks in that way.
Right.
But yeah.
So the one thing I think we were getting into, I was asking you, was if you distinguish between the types of beer.
Oh yes, that's right.
For you, like if you prefer a stout or a saison or a sour or what is it that?
Yeah, for me, if I go into a place, I sit down, I look immediately for what double IPAs you have. That's my go-to is a double IPA, whether it's a West Coast IPA, which is like your more clear-looking beer, more crisp and tropical, or a New England IPA. I look at that first. A lot of places don't have them on tap if it's not a brewery. So then I start looking at like lagers and sours and things of that nature they might have. But that's kind of where I go. My type is double IPA. I love a good barrel-aged stout. I love a good saison or wild ale, but those are things I'd rather have a bottle with friends and open up and share what's in there because it's not something I could sit down and drink myself necessarily.
They're intense, some of them too.
They are. They're super intense, but it's just a good conversation beer to like talk about it. And I'm not a saison or not a saison, a Cicerone at all, so I can't really speak too much to all the things about a beer like some friends can, and those are always interesting conversations to sit around and like have my buddy like tell me what he picks up on it.
Right.
My buddy Justin's really good at that stuff.
Yeah. Is that something that like we've got some bees trying to be on the podcast too? Man. Actually, I think that might be a yellow jacket. One just stung Andrew the other day.
Jeez,
felt really bad for her.
I don't think I've ever been stung
by anything.
No, never.
See, I think that could be a bad thing too, because you don't know.
I don't know if I'm allergic. Right.
You should know. Yeah, it'd be better to know. I got stung when I was a real little kid. And that was my mom always told me was like, well, at least you know now. You don't have to be worried about them.
True. It's true.
I think they're enjoying the beer with us, though. This guy's about to crawl
he
inside.
Likes the,
I say, yeah. we're gonna have some sharp drinks here in a minute. That could be a flavor profile. Bee sting
Yes.
beer.
Yes.
I'm sure someone's named it beer that way at least. You know what's happened?
If
at
you've
brewery?
said it, somebody's done it.
Oh yeah, 100%. That would be the worst thing. Especially take a drink and it's inside your mouth and starts stinging you on the inside of your mouth.
Yeah, it's worse.
That's not
Bad.
that's not
Yeah.
cool. What am I talking about? The one thing I noticed with people who are really into beer is it does seem like the IPA is just generally more appealing for some reason. I feel like that's probably because it's a little more complicated of a flavor or something like that. I mean, what is the deal with
I think just drinkability. Like you kind of know to a degree what you're gonna get, almost. It's been my go-to for a while. I think I've gotten to a point where I could probably venture off of it, and it's getting into the colder season, so I'll probably venture off a little bit as well. Like into fall, you start thinking about stouts and things of that nature, and porters. I don't drink a lot of porters, but like for me, I think because I've drank so many double IPAs, I do get into a point where sometimes I feel like they all taste the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you've got to like try to find something a little different and venture out. It's like if you ate spaghetti every day, you're gonna be like, shit, I can't eat that spaghetti every day.
So you like to mix it up. You don't mind
I don't mind mixing it
a little bit.
Yeah.
How many beers do you drink in a week?
Do I have to reveal that on the podcast?
No, I'm just teasing. But how many do you like you mentioned that like yesterday you had some friends over sharing beers. And that's like an event for you. You called it a beer share.
Yeah, it was just me and a buddy and Christy hanging out.
So y'all bring a bunch and put them in a big pile.
It was kind of impromptu. So he was stopping by to pick up some beer that I had shipped here to give him, and it was an impromptu. But what we do if we have a beer share, that's kind of what happens. Everybody brings, 4 or 5 things. The host usually has the majority of what you're gonna share, and like the host, I always say the host keeps what I bring. Like I'm not gonna bring a Marie Callender's pie and let everybody eat half of it and take the rest of the pie home with me.
Yeah, you're the winner if you're the host. You gotta host.
So I like to do that. So
it's so funny too because I haven't like eaten really anything today, which is good. That's how I generally roll.
Yeah.
So this is hitting me pretty good. It's like 8%, something like that.
Yeah. It's got to be an 8. At least an 8.
Oh yeah, that feels good. That's good.
It's an 8. Yeah.
We're having a Friday, everybody.
Yeah, if you guys venture out east, you should definitely hit up Trillium. They got like 3 spots in Boston, Mass.
I think that's the best part about traveling too. Well, not the best part. I'm teasing, but a very good part of traveling for sure is that you get to get a lot of different food and drinks in the places that you go. And we're not big on going out to restaurants. I know that's an odd thing. Like a lot of RVers, that's all they do. They just go to various local restaurants. But we cook so much that we barely do any of that.
Yeah.
But finding local beer is something that we can do.
Right.
And especially around here, it's been great around here actually. Even I was just at the supermarket here. It's called Martin's, I think.
Yeah.
And I found a bunch of stuff that was just from up in Michigan. It was just it's really good. I'm always looking for because I'm like a complete health nerd. We don't have to do that on this podcast. I have other podcasts, where I do a lot about fermentation and things that I love. But I'm always looking for something like unfiltered and unpasteurized, and we found some that was good. I think it was Bell's.
Okay.
Is that
Bell's? Yeah, in Michigan. Yep.
Yeah.
Kalamazoo.
They make like Oberon. And,
yeah, Oberon. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was a big thing. We were like walking through the store, Andrea and I, and as soon as she saw like unpasteurized, she was like, "Oh, get that one." So she got really excited about that. So we've been doing beers here, which is good. It seems like there's a scene here.
There is. Like I think Michigan was well ahead of us. Like Michigan's just kind of. They build up. Grand Rapids is like Beer City, USA. Everybody in Grand Rapids will tell you that all the time. But Michigan has got a great beer scene, like across the state, technically. Northern Indiana is like definitely increased over the last couple of years. Like more breweries are popping up, and you're seeing some really good stuff and creative things. So that's kind of exciting. But the great thing is you got places like Martin's, like you said, like there's a local supermarket who always has a great craft beer selection, and they're one of the better spots to go into a grocery store and find beer. Like
that's one of the best things about being in the Midwest, frankly, because when you're out west, even in Colorado, you can't buy craft beer in the stores. They may have recently changed that. I think they were changing it around the time I was moving.
Okay.
But you couldn't for like the longest time, or it was at least you couldn't buy like over 3% or something.
Well, I know in Kansas at the store the beer has a lower alcohol content.
Yeah, exactly.
My sister was in Kansas. And
Utah was the worst.
You got to go to a liquor store to actually buy beer if you want to.
That's the worst. And we lived in Utah for a little while, and that That's even crazier because you have to
Yeah.
go to the state-run liquor store, which feels kind of communist-y for me, if I'm being honest. And they're open very limited hours, and
Really?
not on Sundays for sure.
Yeah.
And the only thing you buy in stores is under 3.2%, I think, beer,
Okay.
and that was just such a pain.
Well, until the last year, Indiana was dry on Sunday. You couldn't buy
Really?
you couldn't buy at the stores on Sunday.
We were at the store this morning, just like running errands, and I always feel weird buying alcohol like in the morning. But I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna come back at 3 o'clock. I'm not
Right.
drinking this right now.
Right.
But I was like, oh, do I have to wait until 10 a.m. to like buy beer here? Because I think in Illinois, growing up, it was always
Noon on Sunday. It was
Something like
noon.
that.
Yeah, I remember in Clinton to go to the IGA. If I needed to get beer before the Bears game. I had to wait until after the game started.
That's just
to go
so
get some.
weird. Like, what are you preventing?
It was like noon to 9, I think.
Because
on Sunday.
99% of people going in to buy the beer at the supermarket, I don't know. Maybe you've got like serious level alcoholics who are going in to buy craft beer at a supermarket.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I kind of doubt it.
I just don't know why Sunday's the day that everyone does dry. And
Day of the Lord.
I get it, but it's also like
It's kind of
So,
ancient.
are you wanting to go to church to get their wine with their communion?
I don't
Is
know.
what it is?
We're supposed to have this whole separation of church and state thing, and then for some reason it's the Lord's Day, and you can't buy your
Yeah,
beer before
exactly.
noon, and
Exactly.
that's weird to me.
Well, it's not, we shouldn't go political.
Is this political? It's more religious.
That's true.
We've done two things you're not
Well,
supposed to do at the Thanksgiving
exactly.
table, but I think it's a bad podcast if you don't sometimes do those things.
Mhm.
There's some topics where I just won't, because
Right.
I'm so damn moderate on so many things that like it would almost be uninteresting to listen to me talk about my opinions on stuff, because it's
Yeah.
like, well, probably this or maybe that. I don't know.
Yeah, you could argue a viewpoint either direction. Usually with me, I'm not hardline anything.
Oh no. But one thing I am hardline is like, why Sundays, right? Why
Yeah.
is this special day? I know why. You're all lying
I
about it.
get it. I understand, but yeah,
What are we preventing?
exactly. Especially the idea is you're not supposed to work on Sunday anyway. Well,
Yeah.
then shouldn't you be able to sit home and drink?
I think that's a good point. I think that's a great point. Why not? Clinton, Illinois. You lived in Clinton for a little while.
Yeah.
We were talking about how great the lake is there, which is sort of a nuclear
Nuclear power plant.
lake.
The joke was always if
Yeah.
you got out at night, you would glow. That was always the joke.
It's kind of freaky. For anybody who doesn't know, the whole lake is really there as like a reservoir of water to cool down the nuclear reactor. And so it runs, over the hot parts of the nuclear reactor, not on anything that's supposedly radiation or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard even just sort of colloquially like stories about
No.
anybody getting sick from it or anything. But it is weird because it's like bath water.
Yeah.
In like in like October, you can get in that water
Yeah,
and be
you-
like, this is comfier than
If you go to
being in
Lake
the air.
Michigan in June, you freeze in the water.
Yeah.
If you go to Clinton Lake in April, it's like bath water.
It
like,
is.
It's like it's warm. Like it's
Yeah.
an interesting thing, honestly. And Clinton was weird to live in, and for a lot of reasons, because you regularly got reminded you had a nuclear power plant in town. You'd get sent not emails. I'm sorry. You get mail that would tell you what to do in case of like a meltdown, and that was just always creepy in of its own.
That
Like,
is creepy.
so those things I've seen on TV, like or movies and stuff like that could happen here. But yeah, there's bees.
I know everybody's gonna be able to hear my buddy. That's gonna mess with someone. Someone's gonna hate hearing that in their ear. He really likes this microphone too. Hi, bud.
They are all over.
I don't think it's a bee. I think that is a yellow jacket because they're like smooth.
Crazy.
Oh, it's so rude, bud.
Yeah, not funny.
This is just strange. We're doing an ASMR bees episode.
Oh, there you go.
In case you love the sound of yellow jackets flying around microphones, he really won't leave this
What
alone.
is going on?
It must smell good.
It's got to be something. There's no flower. Or maybe move this thing. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they'll enjoy it over there. Do yellow jackets like flowers too?
I don't know. I'm not.
either.
I'm not into it.
Dead air of just bees flying by. I know. We're friends though. Don't sting me. Yeah, that's a strange place. There's a great archery range at Clinton Lake actually, which I got to use.
Oh, I've never
I
done
did
that.
a secret episode. I don't actually know when I can release this episode, but I had a guest who wanted me to hold off on releasing their episode.
Oh,
I was
okay.
really excited about this episode, so I don't know when it's going to come out, but we recorded one right near Clinton Lake at the archery range. So everybody
Okay.
stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, very cool.
Excited. I don't think I can even talk about who it was, but it was a cool person. When you get big, you have like rules about when I can release it, when you can release a podcast, because I've got other media things going on or whatever. So it's always interesting.
I don't think God will ever be me. So.
That's better for it not to be.
I'm
I hope
okay
it's
with
never
it
me.
too. I'm okay with it too.
No. But that's a great place. I do think Central Illinois is great. Did you ever get out to Monticello at all?
I did.
Did you go to the Allerton Park at all?
I don't remember why I was in Monticello, but like, it might have been more sports, like junior high school sports, because we'd go to Mahomet, Seymour that way as well.
Yeah.
I don't remember why. I just know Monticello. I don't remember why I would have been there, but
yeah. Well, now there's a brewery there, I think, in an old church.
Yeah.
As far as I know, it's still there. I think it's called Monarch, but someone can correct me on that. Yeah, there's scenes everywhere. There's scenes all over the place for beer. One of the first episodes I ever did was with a guy in Fort Worth, a good friend named Joe, who is a rapper who raps about craft beer.
Oh,
That's
really?
like his thing.
No kidding.
And so we met up. Unfortunately, we met up at a library. It was the only spot we could go record at, but so we couldn't bring any beers. But
wow.
he was a cool dude, and we got to talking about that kind of thing. So I just feel like it's something that's happening obviously right now. But when you get into this beer community, what's like the goal for you? Like, you make the vlogs. What's the big picture of like what you'd like to do? You'd like maybe breweries to send you stuff for you to review, or what's the?
I have no goal of ever making money on YouTube or Instagram or anything of that nature. But it would be really cool to have somebody, like, if I'm there, they buy me a beer, or and I've never asked for any of those things, like or like for them to send me, like, there's some influencers that get gift packs sent by breweries and stuff like that, which is really cool. I've been asked to do certain things, like this company here sent me this hat that's on my Instagram pretty regularly, Liberty.
Liberty.
Yeah.
Oh, I see now.
Apparel company, like, and just said, hey, like, post it, do a couple posts with it, stuff like that. And I love the hat because they did it because they know that that's the kind of hat that I like.
That's the best kind of hat.
Those are the hats that I wear all the time, and I feel bad for them because I wear it backwards, so you don't always see the logo. But I mean, yeah, like the idea of it was, like, I was, like I said, kind of early on, not to repeat myself, but I was a 40-year-old dude, and I'm like, I've never edited a video in my life. I've never owned a camera other than my phone in my life. I want to learn a new skill.
Right.
So that's where YouTube came in and things of that nature, where I started doing those things. Now I edit videos in Final Cut Pro. I would never thought I would be able to do that. I could talk somebody through how to edit videos in Final Cut Pro. So it was more about learning a skill, but now it's more about fulfilling a creative thing for me. Like, I feel really good the days that I put an Instagram post out, or the days that I post a video. I love, but I also love the scorekeeping of it as well, of how many likes did it get, how many views did it get in the first 24 hours on YouTube, things of that nature. So the weeks that, like, mentally I feel great are the weeks that I'm doing videos.
Yeah.
And I think because of, like, obviously the COVID and stuff like that, I haven't done as much because I didn't plan on doing beer reviews. I was always a beer vlogger. Beer reviews have done really well, so I feel good about doing those things. But I think it's just more about scratching a creative itch is why I do it. If the stuff where a brewery said they want to send me something, if they want me to do whatever it may be, I would love to do that. I think at some point there's probably a part of me that would be really, I think it'd be really cool. I think a great way to promote a business is through vlogging. And I would love to, like, help businesses out with that type of thing. I even did, like, a TikTok one time on the song What's Poppin', saying if you have great beer, you have a brewery or craft bar, like, let me know. I'd love to, like, do some stuff for you. So I've taken some photos for a local pub that they put on their Instagram for them, but I'd love to do those types of things.
I think you're right. It scratches a creative itch. It's like we have this. I think that's the positive side, and I like to look at the positive side of things like social media. But it's this place where you can just be creative, and there's a format for it, and there's a way to learn how to get better at it, and you can be yourself and do whatever you want to do. Like, I felt the same thing that you did. Like, you were talking about hating the idea of, like, doing a selfie video where other people are seeing you do it. Hate that. And I've done it before, and honestly, I think it's the worst personally. Like, I think it's really hard to do it, especially in a public place. And so when Andrea and I knew we were going to start the vlog for Wild Hickson's, one of the biggest things I told her was, like, we need to embrace our strengths. So the whole thing we're doing with Wild Hickson's is based around a podcast. It's going to be a podcast, and then the footage is not going to be like selfie talking vlog stuff. So it's going to be like its own thing. It's going to be unique, kind of in the world of travel vlogs. And I really like that. I think that that's the way to go. and just kind of embracing your strengths, but also pushing yourself
I
sometimes.
think you can't shy away from the putting the camera on yourself though, because like I think on YouTube, that is what people connect with so
Yeah.
much. Um, like Christy's always told me a story that when I started vlogging and I was like, I would always get really like kind of stressed and like almost sick to my stomach when I would get to a place and I would sit in the car and psych myself up about like, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to turn the camera on myself and I'm going to talk to it. And she would always tell me, she's like, I watched this vlogger in Indianapolis, the family go to Costco and they recorded the trip. And she's like, it was a 30-minute video and I watched it.
Yeah.
And that's what people do. Like people just it's like reality TV Real World was our first reality TV. And then look at reality TV just exploded. And I think the newest reality TV is vlogging. And that's what I like about it. But I think that like adding that to it is very important. I think the thing that I taught myself was that the people around you that are looking, they really don't give a shit what you're doing.
No.
Like you in your mind think that they're like laughing at you and talking about you. But what's happened for me and what made me not as nervous about doing it anymore is I have more people come over and want to talk to me about what I do and want to learn my story. And I think that makes it a little easier. So yeah.
I agree with you.
Yep.
I'm watching this.
I see that.
You see that? That my
No, I don't see what it says. I just see you watching it.
It's going down to 0. I don't get it. We deleted, so we stopped and we deleted so many files, and now it's like, oh, you have 29 minutes. Like, I don't buy that.
Crazy.
We deleted hours off there. We'll see in 7 minutes, I guess.
Yeah. That or we have to wrap.
Yeah, but I'm not doing my beer.
Well, there's more too. So.
Oh, that's good news. I should probably finish this then. Yeah. And then from my perspective, because I think like Andrea and I have different passions. Like she is all about the travel vlog, and she did a whole documentary or docu-series about our first year on the road that she's putting together right now. I don't know when that's coming out, by the way, but she's working on it. She's editing it. So she has a real passion for that, but I have the passion for podcasting. And so like this concept of doing a travel vlog together was like, let's do the two things that we're both passionate about. Yeah. Let's just meet right in the middle with them.
Right.
And it is a good opportunity to be creative. And it also has some downsides too. Like you want to get competitive about how many people did this reach, how many likes did this get, and I think that feeds a certain point, but then past a certain point, it can be kind of harmful too.
Yeah.
You're looking at it too much, you're caring a little too much. At the end of the day, it's just about whether you enjoyed making it or not.
Yeah, I think where I get hung up sometimes, I mentioned it a moment ago, is I determine a lot of times the success of a video on how it does the first 24 hours. And that's not real, because I have a video that I put out 2 weeks ago that didn't do great the first 24 hours, but for some reason over the last week is suddenly like added like 40 views to it, which is really weird because it shouldn't have that.
We act like we know that, like, oh, this is when it should happen, and it's like, no, man, a video could be up for like a year on YouTube. No one gives a shit. And then the next day, all of a sudden, it's like it's gone straight viral.
Right.
It's just there's no rule book to this whole thing.
There's not,
because it's people, and you don't. There's no rules about people. Look, I got mosquito now.
Yeah, I had a guy reach out to me yesterday. He just started doing videos. He just reached 100 subs on YouTube, and he was asking like for thoughts about like how to get more outreach, and I basically just told him like, you can't worry about it.
Yeah,
I said, you just got to make videos. You have to do what you like, not worry about the algorithm, not worry about these things, because the moment you figure out the algorithm, which is almost impossible, it's going to change, because the thing changes all the time. I said, like, let yourself, like I think I said earlier, let yourself be the algorithm.
Right.
Like, do what you want to do and put out what you want to do it. And when you think the people are going to watch your video, when they might be sitting down to check that out.
Yeah.
So
I had this conversation with I think it's the episode right before this one comes out, with a guest, Brendan, who was asking me like why I'm doing this and where the passion is. And for me, it was like I just want to do the show I want to do. So I do it the way I want to do it. I look on Instagram and I'm like, who's cool around here?
Right.
And my definition of cool, no one else's definition of cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, I'm gonna reach out to that person, I'm gonna talk with them. Yeah. And for me, it's like, oh, see, there's the acorn. For me, it's like I would like to do 1,000 episodes and then decide if I'm good enough to be a podcaster or not.
Right.
Because why would I decide now? This is like we're getting into like episode 30.
Yeah.
That's not nearly enough. You got a mosquito on your forehead.
Oh my.
There.
Yeah, it's interesting because I enjoy looking back at the growth. There's sometimes where like my first video I ever did, I'd like to go delete the darn thing. but I also enjoy the growth, and
Yeah.
I like hearing that from people that have followed as well.
Right.
That say, man, like it's how much better you've gotten over the years and whatever it may be. I guess I've been doing it like 2.5 years now, but
Well, it's good to have things that you don't have that pressure on
hmm
either. Like where it's like, I just want to do this for the enjoyment of doing it
exactly.
because then you can relax. Then you
Right.
can play the game. You can be
hmm
like, all right, let's see if I can get more people watching this or
Yeah.
listening to this, whatever.
Yeah.
But you can actually enjoy it because when it's not happening, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fine.
Yep.
Um, I think that's a mistake people make is they try to make it a career really fast.
Right.
And why don't you just enjoy it for a while first?
Yeah.
Maybe get good at it first.
Yeah. I would never leave my full time job anyway. So like this is just more of, and my full time job is all about like you should explore your creativity and your passions. So like, I mean that's kind of why I decided to do it. Like
Yeah.
I said, I needed to learn a skill.
Yeah.
I hadn't ever done any of those things, and now I do it. And I
Such a
enjoy it.
wide world of skills. And
Exactly.
it ties into the thing you like, which is craft beer.
Absolutely.
You
And I
get
didn't even
to do
know
it.
that. That's the funny thing. Is like you don't know when you start what it's gonna be.
You gave me beer. I have to pee now.
Okay, sorry.
I'm going to take a pause for the people.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we're back. It's always the problem with beer for me.
Oh yeah. What is it? Break the seal? Is that the? phrase?
Yeah,
Break
that's
the
what
seal?
that's what they say. But at the same time, I just don't believe that because it's like, if you have to pee, you have to pee.
Yeah, you
know?
gotta
It's
go,
just
you
like,
gotta
it's
go.
pretty simple.
But there is some truth to like the first time you go, suddenly I've got to go a lot
But
more.
don't
often
you
after
think
that.
that's just because you've, like, the alcohol started to hit the system and now you're just going to flood your bladder? Until you
likely
stop
because
drinking?
if you were serving me water,
Yeah.
I wouldn't drink the water near as fast as I would if you sat beers in front of me.
Yeah. That's true.
So I wouldn't be running to the bathroom.
That's true.
So you're not necessarily wrong there. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
It was always a big problem in college. I was always the guy that had to pee. And
I'm that person.
I don't know if I had that reputation. I hope not. I hope people weren't like, that guy's always got to pee. It doesn't matter at the same time, but that was always like, we'd be at like a show or something, and I'd be like, dude, I know I just peed 2 minutes ago, but we've been drinking so much beer.
I'm the
It's
same
time to
way.
go.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I feel bad about it too. I could be out with friends at a brewery and I could get up and go like 5 times and not one of them have gotten up to the table to go.
My theory is that people aren't drinking enough water, frankly. Do you drink a good
I
amount
drink
of water?
a lot of water.
Like, how much water in a day, roughly?
I
Or
drink
is this
at
the
least
same as actually
5
how much
of
beer you drink?
these things probably a day.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a
at
serious
least.
amount. That's like 20 ounce.
20 ounces,
container.
so yeah, 100 ounces.
You're
at
doing
least.
good.
I drink a lot. I'm drinking water. No, I drink coffee, water, or beer.
Yeah.
And one of those goes to bed with me every night, and I probably wake up in the night and take a big drink of it as well.
Do you put anything in your water?
Ice?
Ice?
No, nothing.
They say that's bad for you too.
Really?
It's cold. It's cold. It's too cold.
No, I love ice
You
water.
can burn some extra calories warming up ice water in your gut. I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Supposedly.
Didn't know that.
People are like, I'm gonna lose weight. Just drink ice water. But you can totally lose weight if you're drinking a ton of water because it makes you feel not hungry.
Yeah.
Like, it's super simple. Like, most of the time we get our wires crossed. We're getting assaulted by.
I mean, this tree's got
This
to
is
come down.
this is gonna be a fascinating podcast for people.
The sound is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're under heavy fire from bees, mosquitoes, and acorns. That could
And
have killed
memory
me
cards.
right there.
And
And memory cards. Yeah, I think that was just a weird one. I think it had the space and just wasn't telling me that it had it because we did it on your computer instead of on the
Yeah.
device.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
Yeah.
I don't remember where we left off.
Water,
Doesn't matter.
Calories,
Yeah.
drinking
I
water.
meant before I had to go pee.
Where were
These
we
are
at?
dangerous. These
Yeah, they
are. I think we were talking about just doing something that you actually like instead of trying to do this as like a career and try to like
Right. Yeah.
get big from any of it. It's just like, just make things and make them about the thing that you like doing.
Yeah.
You got to tell me. So, what are your tips for a good beer selfie? Because you take a solid selfie. First of all, the hair, it works.
I think the
Put a lot of
hair.
care into that.
The hair is all that makes it good because I don't do anything. I use portrait mode on my phone,
Yes.
which is amazing because portrait mode. I don't use portrait mode at all to take photos of beer because it does a terrible job to the glass.
the edge of the glasses
It
gets all
erases
like
everything.
fuzzy.
Sometimes you take a photo and it doesn't look like there's a glass there. It looks like it's like beer just floating in air.
Mhm.
But I use portrait mode on it. I have the hair, I have the hat going on backwards. I was fortunate enough to be 44 years old and have a ton of hair on top of my head. And I have a lady that
Way to go.
cuts my hair every couple weeks. It does it really well. So people always seem like that. I never did want to do selfies. I always made fun of my daughter for doing selfies.
Mm.
And this guy that follows me on Instagram, Beer Maniac Man, I think, he kept telling me, like, I think I posted something. He saw my hair, he's like, or my videos, and he's like, "You got to do some selfies." And I was like, "I'm not gonna do that." And so then I did selfies, and I saw how well they did.
Yeah.
And so now I've worked him into my rhythm of like what my grid should look like
Right.
on a pretty regular basis. But yeah, portrait mode. Then Lightroom is a lovely thing. I go into Lightroom on my phone and adjust the contrast, the sharpness, and all that stuff.
That's a big one.
Gotta clean it up, and without the editing, I mean, I need a filter.
You just
like
gotta have
everybody
some
else.
style. That's all. I think
Yeah.
everybody just needs to pick their style.
Yeah.
Like you look around at photos you like. What is your vibe?
Mhm.
What do you want to do? But again, that's one of those things where it's like this. It can either be this really nice creative outlet,
Yeah.
or it can be this thing you obsess over.
Yeah.
People want every aspect of their picture to look right, and it's like, man,
It's funny. I use the same settings almost on every photo I edit because I like high contrast photos. I like
Mhm.
sharpness and detail, and I like to vignette it to darken the corners.
Yep.
Like those. Like if you look at every photo I have, there is some of that. I don't like things that look washed out and or like overly sunned or overexposed. I guess you could say is probably a better word than overly sunned, but overexposed.
Yeah.
I turned down the exposure more than I probably would do. I just like something darker and
Right.
like the colors pop. So yeah.
Well, I like what you're doing because it's not
Thanks.
the same as what everybody else is doing too.
Yeah,
And I feel like I also try to do that. Like there's so many accounts where you go on and it's like, oh, this is just an Instagram account. Like there's nothing that separates
Yeah.
like this mom with a farm from any
Right.
other like mom doing I have a home farm. I have a
Yeah.
home with some chickens. It's like it's the same vibe. It's all the same filters, and it makes me feel very
Well,
strange.
selfies like got like my growth on Instagram went up tenfold when I started doing selfies, which was kind of funny.
People want to see your face.
Like,
think
that's
that's
why
what
I
it
was
is.
telling you on camera. You do YouTube, you got to put your face out there.
I know. Well, that's why I have a middle ground. You'll see when we actually release the vlog too what the style is I'm talking about because the
Yeah.
podcast it's video,
Right.
so it's actually we are on there. It's just not I don't have to stare into a camera. which
And
is
I,
really
I
nice.
found out the same thing with my thumbnail for videos as well. Like I used to try to take a shot from the video, I would
Mhm.
edit that, and I would use that. But now I frame up like some type of selfie of some sort for that. Like I'll pose like for a 5-second video and then take that screen grab and go with it. But
it's
there's
a
probably better ways to do it, but that's the way I did it. I
it's
think
a-
I did one.
yeah.
I did a porch video on the house that we had before this. I had to replace the porch before I put it on the market.
I saw that.
And people love that video, but I think what drew me to the video is I was laying on the porch with my hands over my face as a thumbnail.
Right.
And it was like, what's going on here? Like it makes people want to know what's happening there.
Yeah, it's
So,
all about how you
yeah.
title the video too.
Exactly.
Like you title it something just tantalizing. Someone wants
Yep.
to know what the story is.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we're all doing it. What happens when we're all making content all the time? I guess it doesn't matter because if we're all making it, we're also all consuming it. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not like just because you start making YouTube videos, you stop watching other YouTube videos. Like we're all
Yeah.
in this together, but it's kind of an odd thing. But you working for Apple must get access to some nice phones and nice Macs and good tech, right?
I don't get the access you think because I'm a
Really?
consumer, so I have to. I buy it the way everybody else does.
Right.
Yeah.
But you get the deal. Like you get the employee.
I
get,
can't. I
like,
can't speak about it.
iPhone 10 comes out and he's got it.
No,
right away.
no, not necessarily. I usually am late to buying those things when
Yeah.
they come out. Yeah, I'm
That's
not. I'm
probably
not right
where
on
it'd
it.
be.
I'm not right on it.
I just finally had to upgrade my phone because the old one just
Oh, you got the
fell
11,
apart. Yeah, what is it?
11 Pro.
If you say so.
Yeah.
The 3 cameras?
Yeah, I got the 11 Pro Max.
Yeah.
11 Pro.
It's a nice one.
Good
And it's
phone.
right, and you're right with the new selfie thing has portrait mode on selfies, which is
Amazing.
for some reason all of a sudden your selfie looks way better when you throw it in portrait mode.
Oh,
It's just
absolutely.
makes a huge difference.
Portrait mode's great. It's just I don't think it was built very well for product photography. And when I think about what my Instagram is, I'm basically doing product photography.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't. I wish the phones are amazing. Like smartphones, whether they're Android, whether they're Apple, like what they've done that you can do with what's in your pocket is like amazing.
It's
Like,
incredible.
when I started out vlogging, I used to think that because Casey Neistat, like I mentioned him earlier, he's like one of my favorites. He always has the big camera, but he always had a camera like on his side,
Yeah.
like ready to go, like as
Yeah.
in a holster, you know. And I've always for a while I was like, I got to get a second camera, I need a second shot.
Mhm.
But my phone has always stepped in to do that type of work. I've vlogged on my phone a few times. There's definitely a difference when I vlog on my phone or I vlog on my Sony camera, which I hope there is because the camera costs much more than what the phone did. But it's nice to have that. Like if I didn't bring a camera, I'd be like, oh, I can just vlog today. And I think that's how, like, not to go back to what we were talking about earlier about vlogging in public. I think the phone helped me get over some of my anxieties about vlogging in public.
Mhm.
Because a phone, everybody's on a phone.
Yeah, you could be
People
FaceTiming
FaceTime all
someone.
the
Yeah.
time, so it's so normal. So that kind of got rid of some of that.
But that's something that you and I feel because it's based on when phones came out within
Yeah.
your lifetime,
Right.
and it's different for both of us, but it's still the same compared to like your daughter, right? Who
Mhm.
like that's been very common for
Yeah,
her whole life. The idea of someone looking at a phone and talking to a phone,
Yeah.
which that's
Yeah,
odd
it's
for
funny.
both of us.
Lily and Malin, Lily's born in 2007, Malin's 2011, so they've never lived in a life where iPhones didn't exist.
Right.
Where Ava was 2004, so obviously she was 3 when the iPhone came out, so it wasn't like, but she wasn't like really into
Remembering
it,
that.
understanding it, but obviously, but it's just weird that there's kids that they don't know that. Like I
Yeah.
remember my first phone was like one of these big honking Motorola flip things that when you try to talk on it, like no one could hear a damn thing you were saying anyway, and the connection was really terrible. Or the bag phone. I never had a bag phone, but I had friends that had a bag phone, and those were kind of crazy as well. But
It's different now, and
Yep.
and they see it in a whole new light.
yeah,
and
my kids have never been in a home with there's a phone on the wall in this house because we just haven't taken it down, but they've never been in a home with a landline.
yeah,
Isn't that weird?
those were the best. Landlines were funny. Landlines were hilarious. Like just having other people on the same line at the same time
Yeah,
and
it's
picking
so
up the
funny.
phone. That's great.
I remember like where I grew up at, you only had to dial five numbers to call somebody when
Really?
I was a kid, and I hated it before call waiting. But I live in such a small town. If I was trying to get hold of my buddy and his sister was on the phone or something like that, you dial 5 numbers, you get a busy signal. After so many busy signals, you're like, I'm just going to ride over to his house. So I
Right.
get on my bike and ride to his house.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so funny. You wouldn't do that today. You wouldn't just show up at anybody's house today. Like, I can't imagine just showing
I know.
up somewhere.
I showed up at your house, but
well, I knew you
I
were
was
coming. That was a different story. I about just got hit.
It's weird. Yeah, I know. But it's weird though, because I do. As I was rolling up, I was like, should I text or something? Should I be like, hey, I'm here, I'm coming back?
That's funny.
It's odd though, because it's like doorbells are probably fine. You just go up and ring someone's doorbell. It's not
Yeah.
if you got the wrong house, whatever, no
Yeah.
big deal. Oh, he lives down there, like you know. But it's funny how we decided it's not appropriate. Yeah, we're just getting rained on right now.
This tree's got to go.
This is wild. This is like a half-eaten squirrel acorn.
Yes, I think they're probably up there dropping them on us. Honestly. Yep, there's
They
one right
definitely do that. They get pissed about it.
He's right
yeah.
there. It's him.
Jerk. They get mad. I think they get mad when you're below them and they start throwing things down.
My
you go.
dogs and these squirrels have a heyday all day long.
Yeah. That's good for dogs, though.
Oh yeah,
They need that little
Yep.
excitement.
absolutely.
Do they ever win? Sad when
They've
win.
not won
That's
yet.
good.
No, twice in last week there were some very very close. Oh, look at the black squirrel. Like that's how brave these things are.
Why are they black here? Fully black squirrels.
I didn't see a black squirrel until I moved to Indiana. I didn't know they existed. And
I
in
didn't
my
either.
yard, I have literally 4 or 5 black squirrels on a regular basis. And my understanding is they are the meanest.
Really?
They are like the meanest to other squirrels, technically.
That's super
But we have
weird.
multiple black squirrels in our yard all the time.
That's just odd. I'd never seen any. At my college, I think they were famous for being like bright red kind of.
Oh yeah.
I don't really remember, but it's just weird to see it like a fully black squirrel. It's not how you picture a squirrel at all.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Strange. But this is such a distracted podcast.
It's all right.
That's my favorite type. The
It's
sad thing
relaxed.
is, I just feel like people have no context of like this. But luckily, they can go see the photos and stuff, and they'll be
There
like,
you go.
okay, there's where
There
they're
you go.
sitting, and that
Yep.
makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, man. God, just keeping a train of thought. It's just getting rained down. Is so
And we haven't even finished the second beer, so it's not even the alcohol.
No, it's not. It's just like Armageddon of acorns
know.
right now.
That's
You did warn
nuts.
me, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. They are. I see them up there just throwing them down. Digging around, being like, screw it, here you go. Jerks. This angry
They're
squirrel.
gonna be mad when I take that tree down.
Are you going to take it down?
I am really debating it because I'm worried about the limb. You can't see it, but I'm worried about the limbs falling on the
Yeah.
house because they kind of go over the house.
We've
But
had
in May when I moved here, this is like totally no one was hear this. I don't have a lot of allergies, but this tree like ruined me. I couldn't sit outside because of whatever this tree was
Really?
blossoming in like May. So like it has to go. I think for that reason more than anything.
the whole thing or just some of those branches that are
I don't
problems?
know. We'll see. We'll see what the guy says.
Yeah. We've had some good storms since I've been here. There have been
We
some
have.
days where it's just like, and so in the RV, it is aggressive. It's
I
scary.
bet. I can't imagine.
It's yeah, Andrea gets a little freaked out, and unfortunately, it always seems to happen when I'm like on the phone with GoDaddy talking about like a website that's down, and I'm like trying to get a work thing figured out, whatever. Like I'm stressed, I'm in something,
Yeah.
and she's just like standing there as our whole house is just like shaking,
Yeah.
and like hail will start coming down, and we're just like, it's the funny thing in an RV is though, if you step outside just for a second, I think this is good. You step out in the middle of the storm, and you just look at the RV. You see it's not moving that much. Like it's fine. It's not going anywhere. But when you're inside there, you're
Yeah.
like, this is about to roll over end, which is crazy because it's huge and it's got jacks in all four corners. It's got 5 different jacks where it's touching the ground, and it's got the wheels with crazy good suspension. Nothing's going anywhere, but you
funny.
feel yourself rocking back and forth like crazy, and even like the slides on the side will start to like push in a little bit. It's just freaky. It's been a new thing to learn, and when we're like asleep and a big storm starts hitting, you're not sleeping that night.
Right.
Like you're up for the whole storm because it's just, for one thing, it's too
I would
loud.
stay away from Oklahoma if I were you.
We were in Wyoming, and it was like 70-mile-an-hour winds. Luckily, the way we were like faced was the front of the RV was pointing into the wind, so you get a lot less that way. We didn't even put like the slides out, so we were pretty thin.
Right.
But we've had some times where it's just like,
Well, like a month ago, almost we had like they were talking about all day, like 90 to 100 some mile an hour winds were gonna
Yeah.
get. I don't think we got it as bad as like Chicago had gotten it, because I like had nothing really fall down out here.
Yeah.
Necessarily, but
I start going on and I'm checking for tornado warnings and things like that. But I don't actually, in most of the places we stay, I don't actually know where we would go. Some of them have like a good building with a bathroom where it's like that's probably the tornado space or
right,
whatever.
I would imagine.
Luckily, we
The
haven't been in
shelter.
that situation just
That's
yet,
good.
but it is.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, if you can't handle that, maybe don't get in an RV. Like, make sure you can handle that first. Go camping during a thunderstorm.
There you
Just
go.
get used to it.
There you go.
You know, it's not gonna be a big deal. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah,
But it's sketchy. It'll keep you up.
I bet. Jeez,
You got the motorcycle outside. I think about that tipping over. It did tip over once, which is really unfortunate.
that sucks.
Because then you go out in a storm and you're like lifting a motorcycle off the ground, just getting soaked, and it's just intense. It's the middle of the night. I've done that. 3 a.m.
Not good.
Yeah, man.
Not good.
Well, I like the tree, but I agree with you. If those branches fall down, you're gonna be.
Yeah, at least take the ones down that are gonna be over top my house. So. There's another black squirrel.
Black squirrel and like a red one up there. Yep. About to start fighting it out. Look at him. He's about to fall off. Jesus.
Oh, they hop from tree to tree. It's crazy to watch.
I know. And
And we at night we have owls. I have like 3 owls.
that's
usually
pretty
out
cool,
here.
actually.
They like make some noises I did not know that they made.
That's pretty cool.
Very interesting.
I'm not mad about that. That would be pretty exciting, actually. I think we should probably wrap it up because
You're good.
I'm just like running out of good thoughts for you. But
No, you're fine.
but where can people find you for one thing?
Yeah, YouTube is Booker Leslie. Booker Booker Leslie Leslie, and then Instagram's the same thing, but it's Booker__Leslie.
Perfect.
Yeah, those are the places I'm at more than anything.
What can people expect coming up from you?
I got a couple beer reviews in the hopper that I just got to get edited and put out. I'm trying. People have been challenging me to do different beers, like we were kind of talking about today. I drink a lot of double IPAs. I have a tendency to review a lot of double IPAs and picture a lot of double IPAs. So I've got some stuff that's more like smoothie style, and then I have a barrel-aged stout one as well that I haven't tried yet. When I do the reviews, as I started doing them, I'm trying to do beer that I've never had before. So I don't have like any. So when you see me, it's the first time I've ever tasted it or tried it, so you get the real reaction of what it is. But yeah, and then Instagram is always just going to be the normal grid of a beer photo and some selfies along with that. But yeah.
You do a scale rating too. You have like a 1 to 3.
I do 1 to 3 because I always think of things in threes, and I think 1 to 10 is such a false scale anyway. You might as well do 1, 5, 10 if you're going to do it. But my scale's 1 to 3. 1 is a drain pour. Oh my, that one
that
hit hard.
Came down on the phone there.
1 is a drain pour, like just drain it, not have any more of that. 2 is one that I like, but it's one I'm actually gonna. I usually say drink 1, share 1.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have 2 cans of it, drink 1, share 1. It's okay, it's good, medium. And then 3 is like I'm hoarding all those. I love that beer. I'm not gonna share that with anybody.
What are
It's all
some
mine.
of those?
My favorite breweries are Monkish Brewing out of California. So their double IPAs are some of my favorite. I'm lucky enough that I found a guy on Instagram. The greatest thing to do on Instagram if you're trying to find beer is when a brewery posts a photo of a beer release is to go into the comments and type ISO, which is in search of, and somebody will find you. A beer mule will find you, and they will offer like to get it for you for like a fee, and that's been the greatest discovery I've ever made. And my buddy Justin taught me that a couple years ago, and I made a lot of beer friends across the country that have sent me beer because of that. They've been able to go to releases. Like Monkish Brewing is one of my favorite. They're in Torrance, California. They are unlike most breweries where they really randomize when they release beer. A lot of breweries say like at 10 o'clock on Friday we have new beer coming out.
Mm-hmm.
They announce it on Instagram and social media. Right now we have this beer out, so that's very
cool.
hard to get. And luckily I know a guy that lives in Torrance and is able to hook me up pretty regularly. But they're my one that I'm always pretty solid on. But the ones I shared with you today, Phase 3, Trillium, there's really good stuff that they have as well.
Is that empty?
This one is, yeah. Yeah, they're both empty, yeah. Trap it. Oh, a little bit. I can clean it up.
I made a mess on the table, sorry.
It's all right.
But now he's done bothering us, for real.
He is done bothering us. He's drowning in...
I don't think he's drowning. Do you think he's drowning?
No, he's
fine.
fine.
A little bad.
He's good.
He's kind of being a jerk, though.
He was.
I made a bold move.
Look at that.
To get a wasp out of our hair. Yeah, dude. They're running all over the place.
They're doing that because Banks isn't out here. Banks would have none of that.
Oh, yeah. Let him back out.
But yeah, no, yeah. I did the beer scale because I felt like I had to do it since I started doing beer reviews. Beer reviews was not at all my plan. And I think that's why you do it for the fun of doing it.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. Like if you plan it, I think that if you're doing it for business, I think you have to plan. I believe in planning. I'm a big time planner. Some people think I plan too many things, but I'm doing this more for the creative aspect of it. And it's just when I sat down, like I said, I never planned on being a beer vlogger and a beer influencer on Instagram, and that's what I am. So
yeah,
and I like it though.
And that's the thing is, like you said a million times, it's like it's about meeting people too. It's about like meeting cool people who are within this and into it, just like you.
Yeah,
and I think that's for me. That's one of the most pure things that any type of online community can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had people reach out and say, "Hey, I'm going to send you beer. I'm going to like do this." I think that's cool. Like, hey, I'm going to send you this beer because I want you to review it. Like, that's really cool. Like, I've met people. Like, I had this guy I know now, Sean, who at Westwind one day. I sit down at Westwind and this guy sits down next to me, and I had never met him before. I didn't know who he was, and we're just sitting there, and he starts talking to me. He's like, "How's your YouTube going?" And I'm like, I don't know. Who is this guy? So I've met a lot of folks that way, which is weird, but I think that's the thing about the craft beer community is like it's pretty close and tight knit. Like every community is like that in their own respect. Like if you're involved in it, like I said, in the gaming community, I think is a lot of that way as well. But,
yeah. I love that part about it. I think that's the part we should all be taking away.
Exactly.
Is like this should be here to connect us and not to divide us.
Exactly.
And like let's get into it and
Absolutely.
get into the thing you're into, because you can be really niche with it. You can really get into the exact thing that you're about and create things around it and scratch that creative itch and find people who are gonna promote it and be into it, and that's what it's about. Meet people.
Exactly. I agree.
I love that.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And what should I call you on this episode then? If it's not Booker Leslie,
Booker's good.
Just Booker.
Booker's good.
You don't want to
or Booker Leslie is fine. Yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah, Booker Leslie's good. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'll do that. Thanks everybody for listening. That's gonna be an angry wasp when he comes out. You see him? He's trying. Maybe I created a bad
I just got rid of a wasp nest, a huge one up by my window recently.
Maybe
they were really mad when I took them off the window and put them in a garbage bag.
This guy's pissed. He's making me nervous. You see it? He's trying.
Yeah.
Built a little castle. No, that's so fun. No one's going to have any idea what we're doing on this episode.
Exactly.
It's a throwaway in terms of what the hell were these two doing visually.
That's why you got to have video podcasts.
Take a video when we let him out because he's going to be upset. At least I cleaned that mess up.
Thanks for doing that.
Of course.
Good, man.
That's why I always have one of those. Thanks, everybody, for listening. As always, thanks to the sponsor, Track Farms, for that CBD. I had some before I came over. Complimented this beer quite nicely. Feeling very relaxed. And as always, we'll see you from somewhere else on the next episode.